Russia's war on Ukraine and the horrific humanitarian crisis that ensued is having an outsized and unique impact on women. It's women and children, after all, who make up the majority of millions of refugees fleeing Ukraine, as most men have been ordered to remain in the country to fight. It's women, like this new mom, Natalia, who gave birth to her son only 2 days after Russia's invasion began, and who a hospital then sent to a Kharkiv subway station that's now being used as a bomb shelter.
За малышом здесь вообще ухаживать очень тяжело. Мы с мамой ходим к главной подстанции, моем его там. Ну, вообще неудобно. Поэтому хочется, чтобы скорее все закончилось и вернуться домой.
Joining me now, Lauren Leader, CEO and co-founder of the women's political advocacy group All In Together. Also, Rula Jibril, foreign policy analyst and visiting professor at the University of Miami. Lauren, I'll start with you. In your latest for MSNBC.com piece, you write about the array of heightened dangers for women in conflict, like the new mom that I just mentioned. You say there's an estimated 80,000 women in Ukraine expecting to give birth in the next 3 months, many without maternal health care. I mean, unpack for us all the ways in which women are impacted differently than men in these types of conflicts.
Yeah, and I think you guys set this up exactly right. First of all, Ukraine as a nation had a higher percentage of women than many other countries. About 54% of the population was female. But you're right that in this case, the refugee crisis, the Ukrainians who fled to other countries, to Poland, Romania, et cetera, the now estimated 4 million people. Of them, it's 9 out of every 10 refugees is either a woman or a child. And you think about the very unique needs, the woman who gives birth in the subway station, the women who are pregnant and transiting. There are also enormously heightened risks for human trafficking. Many Europeans across a number of the countries that have been most welcoming of refugees have opened their homes and opened their cars and showed up at train stations in order to host people. But unfortunately, that means that so too have traffickers. And the open borders between these countries means that actually there's no registration when refugees cross the border. The borders are open and they're able to flow into Poland and Romania, et cetera. But it also means it's very hard to track them. And where we have unaccompanied minors, there are lots of stories emerging of really terrible things happening. The UN has been warning about it, et cetera. But just think about the basic needs of mothers with young children, new babies, et cetera. Menstrual hygiene kits, diapers, formula, the list goes on. And it's such a uniquely female crisis. And I think the aid community is trying to keep up, as are the host nations. But it's enormously complex and just on a human level. I mean, who watches that video and doesn't, and their heart doesn't break trying to relate to what these women are going through? It's horrific.
The babies are really, really hard for me. And Rula, you've received recognition for your work with young refugees, including ones who fled the Syrian civil war. I mean, what kind of help do women and children specifically need in this situation? As Lauren mentioned, you're going to need formula, diapers, all the strollers. That's something that has come up with strollers being donated in Poland. Talk about how these specific needs need to be addressed urgently and directly, and how they're a little bit distinct from the needs of, the general population.
So we have to just to understand that women and children are the first victim of war, and what we're seeing that not only millions of refugees, we're displaced people inside Ukraine. And most of them are women. If you think of the besieged city of Mariupol, where people are starving, children are dying and starving as we speak because they don't have access to food. This morning, I believe the Russian troops seized basically trucks full of medications and food, etc. So we have 3-4 crises to handle. Luckily, the countries, I just came back from Germany, and I see how the European Union are putting forth a very robust response to the refugees crossing to Poland and to Hungary and to other places. And they're being very attentive to what Lauren just said, especially the issue of trafficking, sexual harassment, etc. But we're seeing now reports of another war crime that's been committed, which is a rape campaign by the Russian army. This is a weapon of war. We have to understand when any army starts raping, this is an indication that they want to punish, collective punishment I've seen this in Syria in 2017 and 2018, where both the Syrian army, with the help of the Russian army, start a rape campaign where they would rape children in front of their parents and women in front of their fathers and husbands, and then either they would kill them or invite them to commit suicide. That's why I opened a scholarship program in Italy to give these girls, some of them from cities like Aleppo and Idlib and others. We rescued them. I was very lucky at the time that the foreign minister, Gentiloni, who is now actually works in the European Parliament, he's the head of the European the head of the European Parliament, and he gave us visas. So today, President Biden said he will give 100,000 visas, or the United States will welcome 100,000 refugees. That is not enough. And I say this because we already have 4 million people, refugees, already that been crossing the borders in 4 weeks. The number of the population, 40 million, we are expecting to have at least 15 to 18 million leaving the country, fleeing the country as the situation will escalate in the next weeks. God forbid there will be a chemical attack. In that case, that number might go to 25 million. And in this case, we need to be ready to what it means. That means handling trauma. That means handling injuries. That means absorbing a population of refugees that made exclusively or with a high percentage of elderly women and children. That means we need to be ready as international community, not only to save them and help them and rescue them, but also to absorb them in other societies. And that means opening possibilities for scholarship programs. And this is an absolute direct help, because one day they will go back and rebuild Ukraine. And that is the best weapon to revive and restore their country.
Rula, what you said about the rape campaign gave me goosebumps all over my body. Just quickly to follow up on that point, I mean, how much do we know about that and what's happening on the ground in regards to that rape campaign? Is that something that you've seen reports tick up in recent days?
Yes.
Given, I mean, we've talked about Russia, you know, sort of being stuck in the mud in terms of the invasion. Have you heard these reports ticking up in recent days?
Absolutely. I think today, Kyiv, I think the two magistrates in Kyiv start collecting documentation. They've seen witnesses, women who leaked information, videos, and who talked to survivors. We're starting to collect data through the United Nations and other women organizations. And the survivors of those rape crimes, of those episodes where Russian troops would basically enter homes, rape these women and girls. There's a story that's a horrific story that actually it resembles another story I heard in Syria. An elderly woman, not a young woman. We've seen this during the Holocaust in Rwanda, and we've seen this in Bosnia. This is a collective punishment. And look, I don't talk about this lightly. My own mother was raped and committed suicide. I know exactly these kind of stories. I know what impact they have on a family and a community, and above all, on a society. It meant to break down and punish everybody. And what we are seeing here, a war crime committed in front of all of us. And that's why the international community needs to intervene. And that's why I think President Biden started talking about Putin being a war criminal.
Mm-hmm. Lauren Leader and Rula Jibril, I wish we had more time. We'll have you back because it's such an important conversation. It's an ongoing crisis. Thank you both for being here today. Really appreciate you taking the time. Please stay safe.
Hi, I'm Zerlina Maxwell. Thanks for checking out our channel on YouTube. You can see more from Zerlina by clicking any of the videos on this screen, and make sure you subscribe below to stay up to date on the day's biggest stories. Thanks for watching.